Hi, EWTN family. Next week, I will be on the road doing some college debates with live action to advocate for life. And I wanted to share with you my mindset going into some of these more hostile environments and some of the key things that I've learned, 3 things that I've learned for how to engage people and win the heart, not just the argument. Because the reality is when you're fighting for life against abortion, when you're trying to share the faith, when you're trying to talk about morality in a culture that's really crazy right now, it can be really easy to try to win the argument, but then you lose the person. At the end of the day, we are trying to win hearts. We're trying to win souls. We want people to go to heaven. We want to all be in heaven with God forever. So how do we do that in the practical day-to-day when we're engaging people? So last year, I did some very intense debates. I was on Jubilee. You might have heard of Jubilee, but they have these shows called Surrounded. I sat in a chair and they had 25 pro-choice advocates around me or activists around me. So I was the pro-life advocate. They had like 25 pro-choice advocates. We were in this like warehouse in LA, and the 25 people would come up and sit in the chair and debate me, and then they would have a buzzer go off and raise these flags when the people wanted the person to get off the chair, and then another guy would jump on, and it got really heated at points. But one of the things that I found to be the most effective, because they're all with all these pro-choice arguments, right? Pro-abortion arguments ultimately. And I say pro-abortion because pro-choice is actually not pro-choice because it's not pro the choice of the baby. There's no choice for the baby who's being aborted. So it's actually pro-abortion. But anyways, the thing that I saw that was so compelling was when I would engage these folks and they would share the why behind why they were so emotional and passionate about supporting abortion. Many of them would open up about their personal stories. And in that moment, having an argument with them about why abortion is wrong wasn't what they needed. What they needed was for me to hear them and what they'd been through. Many of them had had abortions or they had grown up with really rough childhoods, and they thought therefore abortion was good for some people to do because the baby would have a rough childhood. But when I got to hear the why behind why they supported abortion and share basically they would share their trauma, and I listened and I showed that I cared about them and I really acknowledged that their life was a gift, I saw sometimes the walls start to come down a little bit and they could hear a little bit more what I was actually saying to them. Now, I still had to keep the ground of abortion is evil and wrong. This is a human life, and that can still be triggering to them. But in the comment section afterwards, there were thousands and thousands of comments. The one that meant the most to me were people that said they could tell that I cared about the person that I was debating, and that made them feel more open to the pro-life position. And so I think the number one thing that we can do when we're trying to win a soul, not just win an argument, is to show love to the other person. And that means being respectful towards them. It means listening to them. It means saying that you care about them and you actually want to know their story and want to know their background, and expressing that care and concern. I think the second thing that's really important when we're trying to win a soul instead of just win an argument is to make sure that we are fully confident in our own beliefs and convictions. Because if we go into a conversation and we have not done the study and learned about, let's say, the pro-life issue, learned the arguments, understood the theology behind it, and it's not super complicated, but it's doing a little bit of the homework, right? Then we can go into the conversation and start feeling self-conscious, start getting worried or nervous, not know how to respond when they have a question or they say something. And that ultimately, that lack of confidence and preparedness is not going to help give them the assurance that they need that this is what is true and good. And so it's very important, number one, to show love, and then number two, to be prepared for the conversation. And this doesn't mean you have to do it perfectly, because we're all going to make mistakes and you have to be open to that. But it does mean that we should be prepared and do some work to learn the pro-life arguments, to make sure that we understand why people are in support of abortion and we can actually communicate with them effectively. One resource that I absolutely love is liveaction.org. Of course, you guys know that I love liveaction.org, started liveaction.org, and we have amazing resources for you that are available, including our pro-life replies to pro-choice questions. You can go to liveaction.org/pro-life replies, and there are these easy 3-minute videos and scripts for you to know how to respond to some of the toughest pro-choice arguments so you can feel prepared and equipped. So number 1, show them love. Number 2, be confident and do the preparation. And number 3 is to pray. At the end of the day, this fight for hearts and minds is a spiritual battle. We can have all the intellectual arguments in the world. We can even have all the power in the world in terms of winning back institutions and changing the law. But at the end of the day, we are fighting against evil. St. Paul says in Ephesians that we don't just battle against flesh and blood, but that we battle against powers and principalities. So this is, again, something that can be very simple. I don't want to make it sound like you have to pray hours every day to prepare yourself to help save souls or to go out and, work in the culture. But it is something very simple that you can say a prayer every day for an end to abortion. You can say a prayer every day for the transformation of souls and culture. And you can just make a very simple prayer either in the morning or in the evening with your family for these intentions. And maybe there's a specific person in your life that you feel is really far from you in terms of values and their lifestyle. They're really maybe not walking in any faith, but you love them and you want them to, see the fullness of truth. And so you're trying to maybe know how to engage them or persuade them. As much time as you may spend thinking or even worrying about this person, spend praying for them. Because here's the deal. Worrying about somebody does nothing. Praying for somebody can do everything. And so transform any worry that you have about loved ones that you know or friends that you know who are maybe not walking with God or walking in the truth. Transform that concern into prayer. Those prayers are so powerful. God hears every single one of them, and those prayers work. I've seen them work. I have so many stories I could tell you of, family members and friends who were in really rough places and not walking in truth. And then people prayed for them and prayed for them. Sometimes it would take years. And then all of a sudden there was this tipping point that people didn't expect. And this person came back into fullness of faith. There are so many stories like this. So make sure that you're praying. Pray for an end to abortion, please. Please pray for me and the upcoming debates that I'm going to be doing on campuses. Pray for Live Action and its work to end abortion. And please pray for the person or the people in your life that maybe you want to persuade or you want to coax back to faith or whatever it is. Make sure that you're praying for them. God hears those prayers. All right, let me know what you all think of the comments or things that have been helpful for you when you're engaging friends or family or the culture in advocating for life and faith. And love you guys very much. Thank you for your prayers, and we'll see you next time.